Eric Guy, what's up, baby?
PL there. What's happening, PL? Good to see you this morning, brother.
What's happening, man? Doing good?
Yeah, I think I see Heather Raleigh all the way out from Utah. Hello, hello, Heather. Laura, hello. Just some of these names are popping up, not everybody. I see everybody coming in. So we'll get started here shortly. What you're seeing is a screen. Those names are all made up, so don't worry about, I'm not sharing any confidential information here. So those of you that are on the phone, I'll say that again. This is just a made up demo screen. We will get started in just 2 minutes. Let's see, Walt has come on. Hi, Walt. Jared. Hi, Colleen. Hi, Kathy. Kathy down in Nashville. Go Pens. Hello, Heather. Hello, Kevin. I think I'm getting everybody. If I miss somebody, sorry.
Hey, Eric.
So I'll say it at the end of, just as we're waiting for a few more people to join here. I'll say it again at the end of this webinar. If you have any other ideas for webinars, or if you want to see some of our expertise in the analytics, please let us know after the webinar just by shooting us an email. You can shoot it to me at eric@centerforvictory.com. We'd be happy to go back on and help you guys out. I know there's some things that we've been doing with a lot of you that have been helpful. If you want us to continue to go over those things, we'd be happy to just to do this again for everybody once or twice a month. So let us know via email and we will get right back to you. And chat. Kathy, what's Preds? Who's the Preds, Kathy? All right, let's get started, y'all. Welcome to just some PI advanced stuff in analytics. I'm Eric Guy from Center for Victory. I think most of you know me on the call. If you don't, if you're new to analytics and are joining us, we'll give you a quick update because I need to go over that anyhow. The purpose of this call is to take a little bit deeper dive into team analytics and team dynamics using those analytics. So many of you that are PI clients, if you go into your dashboard, if you want to follow along, maybe on a different computer or whatever, we're going to break down how to do this and just give you some best practices for how to utilize it. So what happens is, if you log into your PI system, you'll see your dashboard. Everybody should be able to see my screen. You'll see your recently completed PIs. Again, these PIs are just made up. This is not confidential information that I'm sharing. These are just all made up. Hopefully you can tell that by the fruit that we bear. Grapefruit, kiwi, all that stuff. So you can go in and view all. So if you look at your people, we're just going to pull up somebody here. Okay, you'll get their PI. If you go to full view, you'll get their full PI. The reason that I'm going to do that, I just want to go over this real quick as we look at the team dynamics. So this PI here, first graph is your DNA. That's what we're looking at when we're comparing, when we're using team dynamics, when we're looking at job candidates, any of that, we're focusing mostly on that top graph, which is your DNA. Second graph is is a 90 to 120 day rear view mirror look on how you think your environment is either stretching you in natural or unnatural ways. And the last one's not as interesting. It's a synthesis. It's a combination of the two. The top and the middle graph. We're going to concentrate on that top graph. So just a real quick overview for everybody out there. Everything's measured from this middle here. Let me extend my screen. Everything's measured from this, the norm there. If the dots sit to the right, if the factors sit to the right of that triangle or the norm, it's considered a high drive. If it sits to the left, it's considered a low drive. Remember, there's no good or bad, positive or negative. It's just high or low relative to that norm. And the further away you get from that norm with these drives, the stronger those drives become, and the more that person needs those specific drives met inside of their work environment. So if we look at A, B, C, and D, A is dominance. So I want you to think idea channel, so how people value and generate ideas. If it sits to the right there, that person has a tendency to like their ideas best. Tends to be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more assertive. Conflict isn't necessarily going to cause that person stress. And the reason that I'm going over this makes a difference when we talk about group dynamics in a team, and we'll get to the examples later. If it sits to the left over here, the A drive, that person will have a tendency to be a little bit more collaborative in nature, tend to like the best idea. They're going to tend to be a little bit better listener. Conflict may, if that A is really low, may cause them a little bit of stress. Again, something to highlight, put in your mind there as we talk about team dynamics. Next one is the B drive, measures extroversion, or I want you to think communication channel, so how people best communicate. In the team dynamic, a lot of times we hear that communication's an issue in my company. Okay, so what is that communication issue? Are things being shared? Is it too much talk and not enough action? We'll get into that a little bit later. So if you think of that high B type of person, they have more tendencies to be a little bit more social. They need interaction. They need FaceTime with their boss. Sometimes the things that they don't think, they just say. So let's throw things up against the wall. Let's see what sticks. They have a tendency to like those meetings in teams a little bit better than somebody with a low B. Low B tends to be more of an internal communicator. Doesn't mean they can't talk, all right? They do tend to be a little bit more introverted, but doesn't mean they can't communicate. They just communicate differently than a high B. It's nice before a group or a meeting to give that low B an agenda so they have some thinking, some talking points to go over, so they're a little bit more prepared. That person will tend to be a little bit more analytical and technical in nature. Keep that in mind when we talk about these group dynamics. C drive is patience or work process. Think what kind of work environment unleashes a person's full potential. So somebody with a low C, very impatient. We love to get things created. We just don't sometimes get them done. So we get it about 70, 80, 90% of the way there. Sometimes there it sits. In a group dynamic, that could be good because we're creating, but it could also be bad because we never get things implemented. If you take it to the other side, that high C is more process-oriented. Tend to be a little bit nicer, a little bit more patient, more process-oriented. When we talk about your group dynamic, those high C's will help a person, a department, a company scale because they're about processes, procedures. So they don't go to 2 until 1's done. They don't go to 3 until 2's done. They're usually the ones that get it to the finish line. However, a lot of times we see inside of a group or a team dynamic that those low C's and those high C's have a really difficult time getting along, because one wants to go fast, one wants to slow down and put some things in place. So let's keep that in mind when we talk about how to do these. Last but not least, D drive, formality or information channel. How much information a person needs to make a decision. Low D, like is exhibited here in this particular graph, doesn't need a lot of information. Executive summary, bullet points. If you're running a team and you're a low D, you'll have a tendency to not offer as much information as maybe those high Ds need to have. The high D loves information, more perfectionistic, needs to know the rules, needs clarity. All right. So those are the 4 factors. I want to spend just a little bit of time talking about the significance with factor emphasis combinations. So just to review that real quick, everybody in their PI has 6 factor emphasis combinations. They're read from right to left. And so the higher drive over the lower drive. So when we have somebody that's a high A and a low C, what that tells us is that's somebody that's very proactive. So if we have, when we get to the group analytics, we might have a team that's like that gets a lot of things created. We can't get to the finish line, so we might have that going on. A over D tends to be a little bit more strategic in nature, so you have this higher A with the lower D. So that kind of team will tend to stay up high, might not get down to the weeds, or might have a couple people that in their team that need that to get things done. So you might have to understand that. In your group meetings, you might have something like this where it's a higher B and a lower D, where it might be a little bit more informal. So you might need to tighten those group meetings up and make them a little bit formal. It doesn't mean you're kicking everybody out. You just want to be aware of it. So there's some things that we need to understand about these factor emphasis combinations that come into play when we talk about team dynamics. So I'll bring those up later as I give you examples. All right. So how do we get into the team dynamic discussion? One of the ways that we can do that is just go up to here. The easiest way to look at teams and group analytics is to go to this tab over here on the left side. I've created one already. It says recent groups. So you can go right into your software. I'm not going to go into this group yet that I created. I'm just going to go into view all so I can help you guys understand how to create these. So you view all. If you want to create a group, you go here to edit or add groups. Right there, you can name it anything, all right? Let's see, since we have our Nashville folks on the line, we could call this group Penguins, right? And we could add that, and then it's there. So we can save changes, success. Now I have 2 groups. I don't have anybody in this group yet. All right, so when I go there, I'm going to have to add people. All right, the easiest way to add people is you can go to your dashboard, okay, or you can go to your folder. Okay, you can go to, if we go to employees again on this, I'm not sure if I have anybody in this folder. Come on. Okay, so here it goes. Sorry about that little technical glitch there. Have these 5 people here. For the sake of brevity and this morning, we're just going to pick these 5. So I'm going to pick some people here. And then what I'm going to do after I check mark them, I'm going to go over to this tab on admin. I'm going to click update group. All right, then I'm going to search for group. I'll just type in the group and that comes up. and I'm going to hit save. So those 5 people, oh, something went wrong. Let's try that again. Go over, click admin, update group, save. Let's see if it's actually in there. It's not in there yet. Let's try this again. Okay, for some reason that's not working. No worries though, I've already created a group. So I have a group already in there. It's called leadership. Again, just some random people. So you have these 5 people that are in this folder. That would be the next step. So I told you how to add the folder or the group and create the group. Next, we're going to get into the team analytics, which are under Inspire. So some of you have been utilizing this. I know there's a little stress for some of you that the old classic has gone away, but the new system is glitchy every once in a while, but they will fix that just like it was just you saw there a little bit ago. Thank goodness we had a folder. All right, so if I go under Inspire, and I'm going to look at people, the first thing I want to show you about working with teams, if it's just a team of 2, and I know some of you have already utilized this, but this is a lot of fun. So what that is, again, under people, under Inspire. So you're going to go under Inspire, under people, click the relationship guide. So this is just looking at 2 people's relationships. So I'm going to type in Fiona Fig here. Should come up. And then we will type in Kim Kiwi. I really like the fact that it pre-fills. That's always nice. And it's going to generate a report for you. All right, so we're looking at, you want to click this for PI Masters. All it's going to do is give you the 2 graphs of the people. Remember, top graph, this is what it's looking at. And so the first piece you see is the relationship strengths between Fiona and Kim. And that correlates with their profiles. So the relationship strengths for this particular pair, remember it's the pair of Fiona and Kim. Fiona can help Kim by supporting their ideas, creating a unified front when communicating Kim's perspective to other stakeholders. Fiona's eager to start conversations, will typically be the communication initiator with Kim. Kim is able to encourage and act as a counterbalance. Fiona feels frustrated by their communication. Kim and Fiona communicate primarily in a detailed and transactional manner at work, engaging information to keep work moving forward. You're getting that from that high D. And then you have the cautions. Okay, Fiona may dominate the agenda. Kim's ideas or concerns may get overlooked. Okay, so you go down through those. One of the ways that I would utilize this up front when you're onboarding somebody or somebody's coming on to a new team is just to print this relationship guide out and try to avoid some of these pitfalls, because this is a lot on awareness. So you're really looking at the strengths, the cautions, and the tips. So a lot of these things can be avoided if you do this up front. Some of you are dealing with employees that can't get along. or maybe you're having a difficult time with whoever, maybe somebody that you're working with, you can go in and put those two names in there. This really takes the personalization out of it, because what it's doing is it's being objective with the data that you're seeing from the PI. Again, we want to clear all that emotion out. The best way to do that is to be objective, use the analytics in a way to create some team unity there. So again, that's helpful. At this point in time, anybody have any questions before I move forward? Okay, no questions so far. Remember, just to go over that one last time, how did I get there? Through Inspire, I clicked on people, clicked on the relationship guide, and that takes me right there where I can generate that report.
Eric, this is Kathy.
Yes, Kathy.
One real quick question on that. Does the system assume one of the people that you selected as a manager, or it really doesn't? It doesn't, like, does the first box the manager, the second one not, or it doesn't look at it like that?
Not on this one, no.
Okay.
Now, to your point, Kathy, the next piece in Inspire there, I don't want to get too much into this because this is probably just a whole different webinar, is you can click this manager development chart, which is much like the coaching guide, but it's for the manager. All right, so if the manager was Fiona, it should populate here. I mean, again, I just hit this very lightly, and then maybe it's a different webinar at a different time. This is specific for the manager. So this has the manager's strengths and cautions for each of the particular drives. It just doesn't match it to anything, to another person until you hit that relationship guide. As a rule of thumb for the manager, to answer your question, Kathy, for the manager, I would print this particular piece out for the manager and the relationship guide for that direct employee.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And so getting into teams, I know I told you we would only be 30 minutes on this, and I'd take some time for questions, but under teams and Inspire. So just, again, where I'm at, I'm still under Inspire, under teams. Some of you have seen this. Quite a bit of you on the phone have gone over this or had me or one of our consultants do this for you. One of the things that I used to love that's gotten even better is the group analytics. So group analytics puts a group of people. So it's your team. So say if I'm looking at my team, I want to know, how do we interact? What are our meetings going to look like? How are we going to best communicate? How are we going to function? How are we going to get things done? All right, so that's my group. That was, just so you know, how those names popped up is because I had that folder, that leadership folder in there. All right, the other thing I could do is I could go in there and well, let me do this first and then come back. I'm getting ahead of myself. Imagine that. So this is the group analytic. This is that team of people, again, that I just randomly selected. How you might utilize this is in your teams. So say a lot of times we'll look at a sales team and say, okay, we want growth. Do we have the right people on the team? Or, we might look at customer service and say, okay, do we have the right people on the team? The other thing we might use this for is just, what is our team and what do we need? So this is just random. So you can see that this team, using the factor, emphasis, combinations, that's where I'm pulling this from. So if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them. This particular team is more risk averse. I get that from the higher D, lower A. That low B, it's going to tend to be a little bit more formal in nature. So for somebody like me, if this was my team, this might not be as fun of a meeting as I'm used to having. So again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that it's wrong, right? It's just that's the way it is. So how do I best manage these people, communicate these people? How do I drive that team and get the most out of them? Okay, so some of the things that you could do to prepare, if it was me, I could just overlay my PI right on this if I wanted to, if I had the job assessment. So let me go back and show you how this is done. Again, under Teams, Group Analytics, I'm going to type in my group that I have. And then if I want to, I can search a job. So if it's the president, I can I can overlay that job assessment right on here. Okay, so you might have a position that's team lead. So if that's their PI, now you can see if I'm this kind of person, which is a high A, high B, low C, low D, I've got to adapt my style to better impact my team. Some of the things I might draw away from here is my team's a little bit less assertive. So I would do best if maybe I listened a little bit more. Instead of take time to collaborate. You know, us high Bs sometimes, if we're around a group of low Bs, what we might need to do is kind of just slow down, not talk so much, pause. Okay, that means for us high Bs, that actually means shut up. So you have here also that the A over the C, which is very proactive. You're not getting that from the group, so you might want to slow down and be more process-oriented. If I was this leader, what I might do is send out an agenda ahead of time to my group, have them look over it, okay, and not 5 minutes before the meeting starts. Think about a day is better than an hour, a week's better than a day, a month's better than a week. So if I have a really big quarterly meeting coming up, so I know I have a lot of meetings scheduled with my clients, retreat-like meetings where we're going to off-site somewhere. If I have that kind of group, I want to send an agenda out way ahead of time to give them the talking points so they have time to think through it. And that is me as a leader. If I'm a low D, I really need to write some things out. Might need to do something like this. I don't know if you can all see that on my camera, but instead of just winging it like we're used to, I'm going to write some things down. Okay, have an agenda. You know, it might not be that really, really high D agenda, but more of a high agenda for these kind of people. The other thing you can do with these team dynamics is look at the individual view. You can mess around with this so you can see who's who. If I were the person in charge, so if I was the manager, I would like to have this for my people and see who's where. Okay, I would actually print this out. The nice thing about electronically, as soon as you click on somebody's name, it shows you the factors. But if it were me, I'd like to have this printed out so I could have front of mind. Because I can click on Mr. Lemon here, right? And I can see, well, that's why I like him and he or she. I don't know if this is Liz Lemon or Larry Lemon. I can't remember. But what I want to do is focus on the people that I might not be able to connect with as well. It doesn't mean they're not participating. They just participate different than I do. You could also use this if this was the group that you were looking at for a particular role, and this was the pattern you created. So there's a lot of different ways to do that. Okay. This probably wouldn't be, hopefully it wouldn't be that out of line if you have workers and this is the pro that you want to, there's the job assessment that you want to put over it. Okay. You can download these now, just so you know. Some of you we couldn't download these a while back, but now we can. It's another benefit to that as well. So let's jump into the teamwork styles, because I know a lot of you have been asking about this, how to get in it. So just to slow down again, I'm under Inspire. I'm going to click on Teams under Inspire. It's going to bring me to this where I see the group analytics, which we just went over. And I see the teamwork style. So I'm going to click on the teamwork styles. Okay. And what this will do, and again, I would caution you just not to do this and start interpreting it on your own. Okay. Hopefully you all are hearing that caution. Don't interpret this on your own. Call your consultant, get with them. There's a lot of different things you can utilize with this. What we're going to focus on today is the team styles overview. So you can add and remove right here. To add, I'm going to just type in that group again that I created. And again, these are just random. Hopefully they won't be as random when you do it. All right, but what it does nicely is it plots everybody on this graph. So I'm going to click on this tab here. It's called for PI Masters. And you can see why earlier I went over some of those factor emphasis combinations. So you can see the B over D, the A over C. So you have a team. You've got some balance here again. I just picked these people randomly. So you've got 3 people that are about process and precision. Maybe you're hitting a roadblock. I was with, I think it's been about 3 or 4 weeks ago, but I was with a sales team. They're a technical sales team. So they're not as chatty. The whole group was very low B, more higher A, but high D. D is in dog. And so they're doing a great job because what they're selling is very technical in nature. They do a great job on that side. It's just communicating with each other. The CEO said, "Hey, Eric, you think you could help me out?" It seems that the communication isn't going how it should, and people are getting upset with one another, but is there a way to bring some objectivity to that rather than it just being my feeling as the CEO? And I said, just send me the people and we'll see what works out. And what happened is once we got to this communication piece, there was nobody that was in the connecting or persuading. They were all, they had just a cluster. I think there were 8 of them, 8 or 9 of them. They were all down in the telling. All right. So they weren't really connecting or sharing ideas. So what I did rather than interpret that for them is I showed them these questions on the side here. So you can go down here, some thought-provoking questions. And the reason that, again, that I like this is that it takes the subjectivity out of it. It's just, hey, guys, this is where we fall. What does it mean? And that's why I would ask that if you're messing around with these, you get a hold of us and just not start interpreting these things on your own. So a couple thought-provoking questions here. And again, it's gathering from this group here. Does the team need to represent the company externally? And what that might mean. So I might ask that question and I might follow up with, okay, if we do need that, what we might need is some more people over here in this quadrant. Okay, how do we push over there? Or we just might need to be a little bit more like that, which would result in another conversation of, okay, how do we do that? Does everybody on the team have an equal opportunity to voice their opinions? If not, what can you do to support that? That was a big question for that company I'm talking about that I was with 3 or 4 weeks ago. Very telling. They didn't communicate with one another. And so even though they're growing at about over 30%, the ideas weren't showing. And so what they couldn't do is they were having trouble bringing anybody else on. They desperately need the help. But their onboarding process is tough because there's no sharing of ideas. In which there is, it's mostly by osmosis, but they came away with that team, rather than me, after just facilitating that, they came away with, hey, look, these are some things we could do. We need people like us in the position. However, we need to be a little bit more connecting and appreciative of each other and sharing ideas a little bit more in the office if we're going to continue to grow. And that will eventually cut down, they were all in agreement, that would cut down on a lot of the stress because they just weren't talking to one another. Taking action, again, look here, the look of it here is there's a lot of implementers on this particular group. There's nobody here. I don't know if we need anybody there. We might. Things get done when everybody's on board. You might not have anybody there and you're wondering why your team is stagnating a little bit. You need to either a couple things. These are the people on my team. So Eric, help me, help us work with what we got. We'll show them this. Here's what we have to be and come up with ways to implement that. They're good implementers. So we need to be a little bit more coordinating, but be specific on what that is, especially for this particular group. If you remember this particular group, very detail oriented. So come up with a plan on how to do that, more of a rule book for this kind of group so they can follow it and then follow up with them. Remember, for this particular group, if you're not bringing anybody in that tends to be a little bit more coordinating, that's going to be quite a stretch for them. So give them a break, or the next person on the team maybe is a little bit more coordinating. Or if I'm the manager, then that's where I need to really infuse this into my team. Again, nice thing about it, makes it objective, takes the subjectivity around it. Big question here, is the distribution of the team right for the goals we need to attain? Right, very nice. Again, you can look at the factors here. You've got this C over A, you've got A over C. What do we need? If we need things to speed up, maybe our next hire on our team, a little bit more A over C, a little bit more low D. Maybe we need more in there. I don't know. These are just things that we can utilize through this team dynamic. Okay, so let me just say it again. I know I probably was beating a dead horse here. But once you go and start messing around with these, please get us involved. Let us help you either through a tune-up or a Zoom call, whatever it might be. Help you facilitate some of those discussions. We'd be more than happy to do that for you. And then decision-making is the last piece there. Okay. I wanted to make sure that I took time for questions. So I know we only have like 9 or 10 minutes left and you all are probably pretty busy. So I will shut up for a little bit and take some questions. No questions out of this whole group? All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. Give us some feedback if please. I wanted to send a shout out to one of my favorite PI Jedis, Miss Sue. Couldn't be with us. She shot me an email. She's a new grandmother today. So congratulations, Sue. Hope to catch you on the next one. If you need any questions, you can give us a call. Like I said, shoot us an email. If you have any ideas for future webinars, if you want us to go deeper into one of these areas, if you want us to hit something with the managers, whatever it might be. The other thing is this has been recorded. So if you would like a copy, we will send it out to you. Not a problem. So you can share it with other folks. With that being said, if nobody has any more questions, we'll call it a morning. And go out and have a great day. Any questions before we end?
Hey, Eric, this is Kathy.
Okay.
Hey, not a question on what you went over. This was really helpful, so thank you. But related to, you kind of referenced it earlier about the glitches in the new experience site. Do you have any insight as
for the glitches, you can, if you have them, because they're coming from different places. Not everybody experiences them the same.
Yeah.
You can. Is it customer support at Predictive Index? They can email customer service at predictiveindex.com. We'll include that when we email you all back with the recording. So yeah, if it's better if it comes from you, Kathy, because it might not be happening on my system, so they can get in and actually look at yours.
Yeah. Okay.
And just let me know. I know some of you are really good about letting me know when you have those glitches. So if it happens to more than one of you, I will usually initiate a call and say, hey, do you know what's going on? And they'll get on it pretty quickly. They'd be great for that.
Okay. Have they told you when they're going to discontinue the classic site?
Most everybody that's on my list is discontinued. I would assume that you'll be there very shortly, Kathy.
Okay. Thanks.
Do you have any more questions? Okay, well, you're unmuted now if you want to ask a question, buddy. Or you could type it in there.
I can't hear you. You can hear me? Oh, good. Eric, this is Adam Holtman. Can you hear me?
Yep, can. Adam, go ahead.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, I'm not sure what I was doing wrong there. I think you maybe already answered it by sending an email to customer service. So it's more of a technical question. I was having a hard time creating the group the way you were.
Okay.
However, I was able to go into the teamwork styles. So is that something I can just send a note into the customer service team?
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you could do that. And if you want to include me in that way I know too. You just want to copy me on that. They've been
sure. They've
been excellent, actually. At least from my point of view, they're really getting back to folks, because there are little glitches here and there, because they're still adding things to it. And this is, I mean, it's really cool. I mean, all the things that we do. But yeah, go ahead and do that, Adam, and then include me, copy me in it. I'd appreciate that.
Okay. Thanks.
Anybody else? We got anybody else? Has any more questions? No? Team? Nope. Okay. Okay, gang. Well, thanks a bunch. I really appreciate you hopping on here with us and getting some knowledge. If you have, like I said, if you have any other topics you would like us to go over, we've got a few in the hopper that we'd like to do for you. But if you have any that are front and center, you know, shoot them our way. We'd be happy to get back on and do this all again. Take care and have a great day.